With unyielding hearts, we'll stand our ground. Through every storm, we'll never back down. Together we rise, with courage untold. In unyielding hearts, our story unfolds.
Welcome to the Living Well, Living Rich podcast. I mean, what if everything you've been taught about relying on willpower to get your work done is actually, well, the exact thing destroying your focus?
Right. It's completely backward to how we usually think about it.
Exactly. So today, our mission is a custom-tailored deep dive to help you stop relying on motivation that never seems to show up. We want to help you build an architecture where peak performance just becomes your automatic default state.
Yeah, it really is a profound shift in perspective. We are moving entirely away from treating high performance as like a moral virtue or just a personality trait.
Which is such a relief, honestly.
It really is. We need to start treating it as what it really is, which is an engineering problem.
And to solve that engineering problem, we are diving into an amazing book called Unlocking Peak Performance, The Science of Flow States by Adrian Wells. But before we get into the actual neurochemistry, we really need to talk about the publisher behind this book.
Oh, Kokushima-san Knowledge, yes.
Yeah, Kokushima-san Knowledge, which is an imprint of Kokushima-san Ltd., because their origin story just perfectly mirrors what we're trying to do today.
It really does. So the founder, Dr. Xu Chen-hu, built the company on the heritage of her father's traditional herbal shop in Taiwan.
The Yongsheng Herbal Pharmacy, right?
Exactly. And for over half a century, he didn't just hand out quick fixes. He really listened, combining herbal knowledge with just profound compassion to diagnose underlying structural imbalances.
Which is exactly the philosophy Kokushima-san Knowledge brings to their educational resources. Taking that legacy of diligence and education and applying it globally is just incredible.
It's a very holistic approach, yeah.
I highly recommend you visit kokushinsan.net to explore what they're doing. But so applying that structural diagnosis to our own work, we first have to dismantle this massive myth.
The willpower myth.
Right. The idea that if you can't focus, you just aren't trying hard enough.
Yeah, society really pushes this reactive narrative. We're told to either wait for inspiration to magically hit or just grit our teeth and concentrate harder.
Like staring really intensely at the screen will somehow make the work happen.
Exactly. But the book argues that effort simply does not solve structural problems. We tend to view flow as this mystical feeling for, athletes or artists.
It does not.
No, not at all. Flow is a measurable, engineered cognitive state.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this is where so many of us get stuck. Trying to force focus with sheer mental strain is, well, it's like revving a car engine while you're stuck in the mud.
That is a perfect way to put it.
You're burning all this fuel, all this effort, but you are getting absolutely nowhere because the structure, like the traction, is just completely wrong.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that high performers don't actually eliminate the need for motivation. They just reduce their dependence on it entirely.
Right, really? They just don't need it.
Right. They build systems where action doesn't require emotional readiness. If you rely on willpower, you are heavily taxing your brain, and willpower fluctuates based on, like, how you slept or what you ate.
Or one annoying email that just ruins your morning.
Exactly. You can't build a professional workflow on a foundation that unstable. We need to look at what's actually happening physically inside the brain when we hit our stride.
Right, because if willpower isn't the engine, what is?
It comes down to this neurological filtering process called transient hypofrontality.
Okay, transient hypofrontality. That sounds very technical.
It does, but it just means a temporary reduction of activity in the prefrontal cortex. During deep focus, your brain temporarily suppresses that area to quiet the internal noise.
Hold on, wait. The prefrontal cortex is the smart planning part of our brain, right? Why in the world would turning it down make us perform better?
I know it sounds totally counterintuitive, but the prefrontal cortex is essentially the micromanager of the brain.
Oh, nobody likes a micromanager.
Exactly. It's great for writing a strategy, but during execution, conscious oversight actually slows you down. By quieting that area, the gap between thinking and doing just narrows. Frictionless execution.
So you stop second-guessing every single word you type.
Precisely. And this state is maintained by a very specific neurochemical loop. We're talking about dopamine and norepinephrine.
Dopamine, the usual suspect. But usually we hear about dopamine with, like, doom scrolling.
Right, cheap thrills. But here, dopamine acts as a signal for pattern recognition and progress. It tells the brain, hey, we are moving in the right direction.
And what about the norepinephrine?
That regulates your alertness, it keeps you locked in, but to trigger that loop, you have to look at exactly how the tasks in front of you are set up.
Which brings us to the flow equation from the book.
Yeah.
Because we have to know how to actually trigger this stuff on a random Tuesday.
Exactly. The equation is that flow emerges when clarity, challenge, and immediate feedback perfectly align.
So let's talk about the challenge part first.
Right. The challenge has to slightly stretch your skill. If it's too easy, you hit boredom. If it's too hard,
You get totally anxious and overwhelmed.
yes. Flow lives right in that narrow channel between the two. But the clarity and feedback parts are where abstract tasks completely destroy your flow.
Oh, like putting work on strategy on a to-do list.
Exactly. Because how do you know when you're done?
You don't.
Right. So there's no immediate feedback, meaning no dopamine release. It just sits there draining you. Plus, switching between poorly defined tasks leaves what the author calls cognitive residue.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because cognitive residue is such a brilliant concept.
It really changes how you see your attention.
It's basically like having 20 tabs open on your web browser. Even if you're only looking at one specific tab, all those other open tabs are just silently draining the battery in the background.
That is the exact mechanism. Every unresolved email or quick Slack message you checked leaves a mental trace. It literally occupies your brain's RAM.
So even after you've moved on, your brain is still trying to process the old task.
Yes, which is why a day of shallow multitasking leaves you so exhausted, even if you didn't really get anything done.
Because your brain was running sprints the whole time.
Exactly. So because cognitive residue is so costly, the next logical step is to structure our environment to aggressively prevent our attention from being divided.
Which means dealing with micro decisions.
Yes, micro decisions, like which email should I answer first or what task should I start? Every single one drains your prefrontal cortex's finite decision budget.
So the solution is pre-commitment, right?
Right. You decide your first 3 tasks the night before. You automate all that low-value thinking through strict routines so you don't even have to deliberate in the morning.
And the book is super strict about the physical environment for this default focus, too. Like
Right.
a physically clear desk.
And the phone. Putting it on silent face down is not enough. It must be physically absent from the room.
Okay, but I have to push back here. What if you have a job that demands constant reactivity, like an entrepreneur or a manager, where people literally need you all day?
It's a great point, and the book addresses domains like entrepreneurship with a rule called ruthless segmentation.
Ruthless segmentation, what does that look like practically?
It means strategic deep work has to be architecturally separated from reactive operational work. You cannot mix them.
Because the reactive stuff will always win, right? It's easier.
Exactly. It provides faster, cheaper dopamine hits, so you block out, say, 90 minutes where you are completely unreachable. That's your deep work zone.
And then you schedule dedicated time just to react.
Yes. Batched windows for emails, Slack, and putting out fires.
So what does this all mean for how we handle our overall capacity? Because this is a huge shift in how we view our day.
It really is. Time management alone is practically useless.
Right, time is fixed. It's cognitive energy that is the true constraint here. It's like having a perfectly organized daily schedule for a phone with a dead battery. It just doesn't matter.
Such a good analogy. To keep that battery charged, we have to respect our ultradian rhythms.
Ultradian rhythms, those are the 90-minute cycles, right?
Exactly. The brain operates in roughly 90-minute intervals of high alertness. But after that, you absolutely must have 20 minutes of active recovery.
And we really need to emphasize that scrolling on your phone is not active recovery.
No, not at all. Scrolling demands heavy visual processing and context switching. For true recovery, the brain needs the default mode network to operate without any demand.
The default mode network. That's like when you're taking a walk or meditating or even just staring out a window.
Right. It allows the brain to consolidate ideas and clear out metabolic waste. And speaking of clearing out waste, the ultimate non-negotiable performance multiplier is sleep.
7 to 9 hours. Every single night.
Yes. Biologically, sleep literally washes the brain and clears out the toxic byproducts of thinking. If you cut sleep to work more, you are destroying your flow architecture for the next day.
Okay, so we protect our attention, we manage our energy with breaks and sleep. But to know if this whole system is actually working, we have to measure it.
Yes, and we also have to prepare for the moment it inevitably fails. Because subjective feelings of productivity are super flawed.
Oh, totally. Sometimes I feel like I did nothing, but I actually finished a huge project, or I answered 50 emails and feel great. but did zero actual work.
Exactly. So instead of feelings, we have to track 3 variables after a session: focus from 1 to 10, energy from 1 to 10, and output, like the tangible results.
That makes so much sense. And the book has this really wild trick for maintaining momentum between these sessions.
The Hemingway trick.
Yes. Stopping mid-sentence or intentionally leaving a task unfinished when your time is up. But wait, doesn't that contradict the whole urge to check things off a list? I hate leaving things undone.
I know, it feels so wrong at first. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, cognitive continuity across days is vastly more powerful than a momentary dopamine hit of completion.
Because it uses that cognitive residue thing to our advantage.
Precisely. If you leave it slightly unfinished, your default mode network works on it in the background. When you sit down the next day, you aren't staring at a blank page.
You just pick right up where you left off.
Exactly. The bridge is already there. But we also have to talk about what happens when the system breaks down.
Right, because we're human. We fail.
When it breaks, people usually blame their character. But the book advises using the 5 Rhys method to diagnose the structural failure.
How did that work?
It's just asking why 5 times. I lost focus. Why? I checked my phone. Why? Because it was on the desk. Why? Because I didn't put it in the other room.
Ah, so it takes the shame out of it. It's just data.
Exactly. It's a structural tweak, not a moral failing.
So to synthesize all this for you, peak performance isn't about working harder or grinding longer, and it's definitely not about beating yourself up over a lack of motivation.
No, it's about becoming an architect of your own focus.
Right, and you could start small. Just check the equation. If you're bored, you are under-challenged, so increase the difficulty.
And if you're anxious, you are over-challenged, break the task down into smaller, clearer steps.
Just that tiny shift can completely alter your day. But I want to leave you with one final kind of provocative thought to chew on.
Oh, I love these.
So we just talked about how the brain naturally works on unfinished problems in the background.
Right.
Like leaving a sentence half-written.
Right, trusting the subconscious to chew on it.
Well, what might happen if you deliberately left your most intimidating life goal slightly unresolved tonight?
Oh, wow.
Just engaging with it a little bit,
Yeah.
leaving it open-ended, and then walking away. Trusting your subconscious to actually do the heavy lifting while you sleep.
That is a fascinating way to look at it. Using your biology to tackle the biggest hurdles.
Exactly. Stop trying to force it, build the system, and let your brain do what it was built to do. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
When the road is rough and we're feeling low, we find the strength inside to let our spirits grow. Through the darkest times, we won't lose sight. With unyielding hearts, we'll embrace the fight. With unyielding hearts, we'll stand our ground. Through every storm, we'll never back down. Together we rise with courage untold. In unyielding hearts, our story unfolds. In the face of fear, we'll find our way. With hope as our guide, we won't go astray. Every challenge met makes us stronger still. With unyielding hearts, we'll climb every hill. With unyielding hearts, we'll stand our ground. Through every storm, we'll never back down. Together we rise with courage untold. In unyielding hearts, our story unfolds. Through the night, we'll chase Through every storm, we'll never back down. Together we rise with courage untold. In unyielding hearts, our story unfolds. We'll soar above with spirits high. Together we'll reach beyond the sky. In unity, our voices will sing. With unyielding hearts, we'll make the heavens ring. We'll soar above with spirits high. Together we'll reach beyond the sky. In unity, our voices will sing. With unyielding hearts, we'll make the heavens ring.